Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Deadlock Night Shift. As I am out of my box, they contain me in this tight little area ever since the Night Shift opened over the week. I'm Jason Kaplan, joined by the lovely, the handsome DDK, and of course, the ever so curly hair, getting back to its curly form of Jake here on the end. Jake, how you been, man? We had NSO with some serious results, and it proved EU's kind of beast.
Yeah, I mean, right now there's definitely a gap between the regions, but things rise and fall in Deadlock, right? A long time ago it was EU on top. They took, I think, a bit of a stumble historically with the loss of Buff Enjoyers as a competitive team, and NA took the reins for a while, but EU is back to claim them, and I think it's ultimately just the way things go. I think everyone's going to be still excited to see in the future when we get to have that international competition.
And Dan, going into our bracket today, we'll take a look at the format for you guys who are unfamiliar with how the Night Shift actually works. It's the best of the best going head-to-head. And it's kind of true, the best of the best are going head-to-head here in our EU Challenger match, a rematch of the Grand Finals of NSO.
Yeah, it's just funny how it works out. I mean, it is a testament to how close the competition is, but it does seem like Lowkey W, if you guys tuned in over the weekend, have kind of hit a level above all of the competition in the region. But it's Deadlock, so you never know. We'll have to see what happens today to see if that's gonna reign true.
I never thought our champion of NSO would have to fight to get through into our finals match, but Leviathan did dethrone them just last week, showing off what they could do in the Night Shift Open. But Jake, looking down at the bottom, we have a familiar name, but also a new name coming here through North America.
Yeah, it's always exciting. We've had some roster shakeups in NA after that most recent tournament, so it's an opportunity for some new faces to get their chance to compete here in Deadlock Night Shift. I'm also excited personally to see Bird with Clock back in the action. It's been a while since we've seen this team, and I think they've really leveled up. They gave Melee Creeps a really stiff challenge in the NSO, and I think there's a genuine possibility for them to be making an upset here in this one. So I think NA is going to be pretty exciting. Looking forward to getting to that part of the show.
I'm so happy you called it NSO because I was being made fun of for calling it that instead of the Night Shift Open, but it just like rolls off the tongue, NSO. But yeah, Bird with Clock, I mean, this is their chance for redemption, potentially to take down Melee Creeps where they're unable to just last week. But before we get into today's show here, Dan, you know what we always do at the top of the show?
We thank everybody.
There
all
you
of
go.
Our supporters. Yes.
I was a little bit worried I was going to throw you off there and you weren't actually 100% sure. But of course, our Patreon supporters, there are so many of you, and every single one we are so lucky to have, whether you're a $250 Night Shift board member or you're just a Night Shift resident, even if you're just here to watch every single week. But always I like to do is take a look at the names and point out one in particular. And I'm going to give it to Too Fast, Too Friendly, because it's been a long time since I've seen the Fast and Furious movies. Who do you have, Dan?
I have. Hang on, there was one I was looking at last week. Who is it?
There's just so many. It's hard to find
so many good choices. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Matt.
Just Matt. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was like, I can pick a really interesting name. Like I like Anabolic Gecko, for example. I think that's a sick name.
All right, I'm gonna show some love to Mootkins. I think that's a cute name.
I like that name. Good name. Yeah, big respect. But you know what? Here on the Night Shift, we try to get back to the community the most we can, whether it's just continue to host these every single week, doing these extra events on the weekends, or even watch party and other events around there. But we have one extra tidbit for you, and hopefully this is not a repeat of NSO, and I can do it on my first try. ZP, are you here?
Yep, it's working this time. The pre-planned bit also works here. There's a little bit of preparation into the summoning.
It was kind of pre-planned. At least you weren't on the toilet this time. But what do you have for the community that we've been teasing for the last few weeks?
Yeah, so of course we like doing custom skins here at the Night Shift. Of course, a lot of that was made possible by community modders like the great Aze at Discord at Aze that let us do these things. And with the New Gods patch that came out, we needed to get one of the heroes in a Night Shift skin, and we decided on the silver skin that you're about to see. So we can start rolling the video now and talk a little bit through it, but we wanted something that was stylish and look cool, that you're playing as a hero and you actually like it, but still goes in with the Night Shift theme. And the concept art for this was actually done by Killinger, who helps us out with our comp ops when we do our larger tournaments. She has her own custom art that she does, and does a lot of things in regards to, like, women in suits. As like, hey, this is like up your alley. Like, can you help us design something? So she did all the concept art. Aze did the actual modeling in game, and the end result, in my opinion, is really, really cool.
Gorgeous indeed. Dan, what's your thoughts?
It looks like Silver went to one of the arcades in Piccadilly Circus and got a custom fit, like custom waistcoat. Looks amazing. Actually, fantastic. You know what? I don't download mods, but I might have to change. Wow. Okay, that's actually so sick.
Yeah,
especially the first time I'm seeing this as well. I didn't know we had like the torn up. I mean, of course that makes sense. That's so awesome.
Yeah, I just think, I think the Silver fans are going to be really enjoying this. I think it kind of fits really well with the sort of werewolf archetype and also really, the night shift theme. So it's awesome to be able to bring together, different community members, whether it's folks working in the back end of the show or, our modder team who can put together some incredible stuff. It's just exciting to be able to release these and also show them off now. So we're going to be using this today and in the night shift going forward, much like our Mo and Krill skin. So also, I think for the community, let us know what you want to see next. Like which character should we look to make a night shift custom skin for? Let us know over the next few weeks because we're always interested in doing more of these at a really high level of quality, as I think you can see in this one.
So my final waistcoat.
I just had a final thing to say here is that, if you love this skin, not only are we making a sub goal for later tonight, I'll let Jason elaborate on that, but also the people that created it, give your support to Aze. His Discord is at Aze, and Killinger, I'm dropping her link tree in the channel if you want to support her art because she did some wonderful concept art to make this all come together.
Yeah. !Silver in the chat if you're interested in learning on how you can go about getting this. If I'm not mistaken, it will be at 1,500 subs total here on the stream, which is only 175 away. So very realistic. It could happen here today. But honestly, from the Night Shift crew as well, a big shout out to Aze, who's been with us since it feels like day one, helping us mod, helping us tweak the game in any single way. A big support of the show, and we support him very well as well in terms of his career and what he's looking to go to. He actually messaged me once in a while saying, I can't keep doing this, Jason. Every time I wake up, I have like 15 DMs every morning of people wanting him to do skins. And honestly, I think we're so happy to see everyone in the community loving what he has to show for us and offer us.
Yeah, hopefully there's a day, where, because for those of you that weren't around in Counter-Strike, the very early, exceptional, skin makers on the guns became became in of themselves and started to make loads of money once the game, started to really grow and expand. And I hope that, all of the amazing, modelers and skinners and stuff that we have doing all this stuff in the early portions of the game, get rewarded for that because it's epic. It's so cool. It's something that we get in a game like this that, you're not going to find there's some other developers that don't look at things in the same way. And so things are a bit more locked down. So I love the freedom for creativity. And so, yeah, bravo, Aze and Killinger. Amazing stuff.
Valve, hire this guy for sure. Yeah,
exactly,
and obviously the concept art was fantastic as well. But again, if you just type !Silver in the chat, you can learn a little bit more on how you get your hands on this mod. But for now, it's time to actually head into our challenger match here in the night shift number 41. I can't believe we're almost a full year into this. Are we kicking things off with a title match that honestly could be a grand finals in any event out there, with Abrahams going up against Lowkey W. Let's take a look here at the Abrahams roster. Remind you guys who is on this team because it is a star-studded lineup, and they tried extremely hard when it came to NSO, but they fell a little bit short, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, this is still, though, I think a team to be seriously contended with, right? A team that you've got to respect, given their pedigree, given their history in the game. Anything can change, too, especially after a patch. Yes, they did go down to Lowkey W in that NSO finals, but they got there in the first place. They were, putting up an incredible competition. I look personally at players like Taz and Empty Dreams to have particularly exciting, big carry performances, but you also have really reliable individual skill, but also flexibility from players like Sonya and Saint, who feels like can kind of hit a very wide variety of heroes and still show a great performance.
Dan?
Yeah. I'm loving this roster. I think Azo's been such a great addition, and it's been cool how Azo's kind of allowed Sonya Sniper to kind of flex more, because that's kind of cool. I think it's really, really sick when you have players that are so kind of iconic or known for, let's say, being in M1, but then you get to see them and, flexing their hero pool, taking on different roles. I think that's also really good for the longevity of a lineup and a roster, the ability to move around a little bit. And we've seen that from some of the, quote unquote, classic support specialists like Saint as well. But yeah, everybody here is best in class. We always talk about this. Abraham's always dangerous.
Yeah, always dangerous indeed. And I think one thing we saw that a lot of teams like Abraham's can maybe learn from over the course of the weekend here, Jake, is how much pressure and how much the whole earn does affect the way LowkeyW goes into a draft.
I mean, that's like really the linchpin, I think, of the game right now is everybody's thinking about how can we win these earned team fights. I mean, you see it in ranked, you see it all the way up to competitive play is like, that's really key. I mean, you know, Leviathan over the weekend, they were kind of one of the teams kind of being an odd man out and really playing a more macro oriented style, but didn't work out for them. And I think it's, you know, kind of everybody's recognizing, look, these earned fights, they're a little bit less frequent, right? With the timer being changed to be, you know, 12 at 12 minutes and every 6 minutes thereafter. But they do, you know, have incredible impact on the game, you know, not only in terms of the souls you get, but the permanent buffs and the opportunity to put a lot of pressure on your opponent or maybe force a team fight. So that's, you know, I think that's the game right now. But I also think it's kind of cool to see team fighting, you know, really take a high priority. And I'm really excited to see how that evolves over the next few weeks as teams, you know, this is a little mini patch we got just recently. I don't know if it's going to change everything, but I'm just curious to see how teams continue to adapt and innovate on this one.
Well, Jake, you mentioned permanent buffs, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at their opponents at LowkeyW, and the man who's put up the highest numbers we have ever seen when it comes to permanent buffs, Obikim. I think it was 129 when it came to his rem when we saw them just a few days ago here. And Jake, like this team, I think has proven to be one of the most solid teams over the course of any meta and any patch that has come out.
Yeah, I mean, this team looks like the best team in the world right now. I mean, what else can you say, right? Coming off a championship victory, just an embarrassment of riches in terms of the individual skill of these players. You know, you bring in legends of the game like Hoot and Zergy, who've been around. Listic as well, been around since basically the very beginning alongside Obikim. And then you bring in players like Cosmetical and Vrake, who have been incredibly fun to watch, incredibly exciting individual players who really push the individual skill of the game. So it feels like they can kind of draft whatever they want. They can play however they want. This team is just firing on all cylinders right now. You would not want to go against them in a BO1, and that's the spot Abraham's find themselves.
What about you, Dan?
Yeah. I think one of the interesting things is, you know, we often look at a best of 3 where we see a draft developing game to game. We see, you know, a certain team showing that one particular thing that they can do is such a problem that you need to consider like disrupting it, banning it, and so on. And I think what we saw from the Night Shift Open with respect to that for LowkeyW was Zergy playing Warden, kind of bringing Warden back from the dead a little bit and making it look extremely powerful. And it's something that is kind of crazy because depending on the composition, Zergy builds it a little bit different, but it will work out one way or the other that he's going to have like 6k HP plus at the end game, and he's extremely challenging to deal with. So I would expect to see some targeting of Zergy, and that's really awesome to see, because if you guys are fans of Zergy, when he first came back into this roster and, you know, returned to this level of play, as he said on the interview that we had at the end of NSO, you know, he had to learn a bunch of new heroes. He had to update a lot of stuff for himself, but he now looks like an absolute core member of the team and one of the most dangerous ones.
I think what's also cool is that he kind of knew and was experiencing a bit of, I think hate is the right word. But I think his fans, it's not necessarily hate of like disgust. It's more of hate of caring, that when he came into the team, they struggled for the first 2 weeks, but he stuck it out. His team had his back. He knew he could perform the way they needed him to. And it just took a little bit of time to get on the level they needed for him to excel. But Jake, if we're talking about some maybe other players on the team, one thing that does worry me if we're talking about maybe individual picks, GT was heavily valued by this team. Do you imagine we're going to see it being picked or potentially banned out in this series?
I don't see why not. I mean, at least in terms of seeing it being played here, I think both these teams recognize the value it can bring. And I think for LowkeyW, you have so many players who are really insane on the hero. I mean, I think Hoot was kind of one of the first to really show the potential that GT had as a hero. And it's really been a you know, maybe surprisingly a huge meta for GT in the last few weeks, right? You know, I don't sort of look at GT and think, oh, this character is going to be so particularly great around the earn fight, but it seems like people are really able to push those fights, get a lot of those permanent stacks online, and turn GT into a late game menace. I've also seen, though, I mean, some of the attempts to like pick off GT, punish them in the backline, so I think that's definitely going to be a dynamic in play. Unless it's banned first, I think it's almost certainly getting played in this series.
I would hope so. But also Pac is one of the heroes that we're probably going to be seeing being probably picked or banned, honestly, because we've seen it go through and not look good. We've seen it picked and do extremely well, but it's just coming down to how these teams perform, and more importantly, how this 1v1 plays out here and who ideally gets the first pick and first ban here. So let's go ahead into our 1v1. I mean, Saint, I cannot remember the last time that he's lost a 1v1, and he's going up against Hoot, if I'm not mistaken. So this is like honestly a battle for the ages.
Yeah, this is like a burger box meta. I feel like we're in as well with the earn and everything. So Saint's been getting a lot of practice, but who's actually in the lead here? Oh, we actually manages to get the parry as well. And Saint, just as you said that, Jason, he is getting absolutely fisted here.
Don't count him out.
This is looking rough. Oh, little sweet move trying to get that parry CD back. But when you have this kind of HP lead, it's really hard to come back into it. The other player can just kind of wait out your parries, wait for you to make a mistake.
I wish we had the stats on that to know
Yeah,
how many
most
losses
win
Saint has had.
percentages.
That's like the first time, and I want to say like 15 night shifts at least, that Saints actually lost in a 1v1. So OKW, they win the 1v1 via Hoot, and they choose first pick, first ban here, DDK. And going into this, I mean, Silver's highly contested, Pocket's highly contested, Doorman's highly contested, even potentially Victor. There's a lot of choices, and it looks like the initial ban will indeed be Doorman, potentially leaving over open Pocket for LowkeyW.
Yeah, so you'd normally expect Pocket here, but I actually think over the weekend, we did see Pocket go through a few times. And like you said, Pocket looks great, but until you get to late game when teams can itemize a lot of divine barriers, and then his scalability kind of just takes a massive drop off. And so people might be valuing Pocket a little bit differently today, but looks like the answer is right now, no for Abrahams. They're going to let it through. And I feel like, Jake, there's probably got to mean we're going to see Silver as a first pick. I don't see that changing.
I mean, Silver did get like that, range of nerfs, honestly the most nerfs of any character in that small patch, but I wonder whether none of them feel backbreaking. And it's all like subtle small changes, and yeah, LowkeyW are still gonna bring her out. I'm glad that she does come out, because I want to see the night shift skin in action. I think the community is probably gonna be excited to see that too. Definitely a good hero for us to pick in terms of getting a little bit of airtime for the skin.
I'm glad we didn't tell the teams that we actually are releasing that, because they might have just banned it just to grief us on here and grief all the viewers at home. But Abrahams, it looks like they'll invest into an Abrams here, which we've seen Saint pick up quite a bit. Obviously, it does go up into Together's hero pool as well here, Dan. But with 2 picks, I mean, there's a lot of like high priority targets, though I think Venator necessarily isn't as high priority anymore, considering Zergy did show, as mentioned, Warden.
Yeah, and generally EU tends to value the front line first. So you get the Abrams, you get Victor, makes a lot of sense too. I think Abrams is really, really nice right now, especially with that kind of spirit focus builds. Getting the aura up first, Siphon Life. But yeah, Paradox might make it through. I think of the non-frontliners is something that I think should be fairly contested here.
Yeah, I think having a lot of those AoE tools to play around objectives is key. LowkeyW getting the great talent, though, I think they're going to be quite happy with this. I mean, these are really 2 of their key signature picks. I expect it to be like Hoot on the Silver and maybe Cosmetical on the GT. And, there's this incredible fighting potential, a lot of scaling and snowball potential here. And you've got 2 of the highest potential heroes in the game. Abrahams, though, from their side, we've seen the, I wouldn't call it support Abrams, but a relatively low eco Abrams from Saint that has looked fantastic for them. Like, he's able to get so much done and pull so much attention to himself on the Abrams, and mostly just invest in being tanky and putting down stuns on the enemy team. That's been a really, I think, strong play style for them, one that LowkeyW are going to have to contend with here.
It was smart
Going to
to
the next
turn to
pick, of course, Paradox coming in for TAS. And I'll honestly say, Dan, like, TAS has looked like one of the top Paradoxes in the region for sure, just putting out insane amounts of damage.
Yeah, the Paradox is pretty crazy right now, and given the players we have on the server, it makes a lot of sense. Right now, I'm curious about whether we'll see a Warden ban from Abrahams. Do they want to try to target Zergy at all? But they're going to go with the Sinclair ban instead, which is really interesting, especially in the current meta. We have all of these like big ults and circles and stuff that you want to steal away, and also the lane poke. You're going to get rid of that too.
I wonder if this is a protect in a sense for them to go for some of these like heavier ult commitment heroes who are more vulnerable to the Sinclair steals. I mean, the first thought I had, which maybe is crazy, was Graves, exactly. But Graves did get, I think, pretty substantial nerfs in that change. Like, giving more souls with your ghouls is, I think, a pretty big deal for, when the enemy carry is like farming your ghouls. Now you're actually feeding them a pretty meaningful amount of souls, and I don't love that conceptually for, you're creating space on the map, but you're paying a higher price just for what you were accomplishing in the past for much cheaper.
I will say this, though, looking at the draft currently, Abrahams have a giga strong team for mid boss and for Earns as well, where LowkeyW, I mean, I don't think they have that fully built comp necessarily just yet, but they do have ability to act as a front line. But going against a Victor and Abrams, a Venator and a Paradox, and if we see like a Graves paired in with Abrahams as well, imagine the amount of ways you can get them into those grasping hands with like gut shots, with charges, with swaps. It's going to be, I mean, if they go Graves, I'm gonna be looking towards Abrahams here to really have strong control in this game.
Yeah, no, I would expect Warden to come in as probably like a last pick for Lowkey W potentially. The Rem with the Warden was kind of insane, and Warden just it's not contested as a pick really for anybody. Viscous was another choice they made because the Google is like actually so insane, especially around the urn and these objective fights that's I think Lowkey W were kind of is another pick they were innovating alongside Warden.
So you need a monster.
I just like the Viscous anytime you go for these like really heavy brawler setups. I think they can struggle to catch a hero like Viscous with all his mobility, and then the splatter becomes a pretty effective damage tool in the late game. You end up building like mostly support items and really being there to enable allies, which is interesting alongside Rem, but that maybe frees up Rem to be a lot more aggressive with the buys, skipping something like a Divine Barrier and instead going for the curses, the scourges that can really in this game like let Billy and Silver take the fight to Victor and Abrams, which they do probably need a little bit of help with considering the Abrams draft.
I do like how you mentioned Scourge. I feel like we've seen the stonks on that item go up massively over the course of the weekend, but also Echo Shard is a big pickup for things like Paradox in particular, potentially Rem, potentially Viscous too. But Dan, we're going to see the Warden come in. We talked about it not really ever being contested and really no pressure on Zergy to get that as a last pick, and we have it locked in.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for a variety of reasons. I think one, because if you look at Abraham's, like they are prioritizing the front line. They take away like Abrams, Victor, and Shiv. This is like there's so much tankiness on that team, and so for Lowkey W, they kind of get the M1 and the tank kind of in one. Obviously, Warden needs to scale a little bit into that, but at the same time, it does provide both of those things to some extent. And so it feels like again, because Silver's another one that has insane damage burst output. That you have enough hybrids kind of for it to kind of make sense where you have the tankiness, you've got the pick, you've got the ability to actually do a good job in some of these urn battles. I like the way that Lowkey W is thinking about the draft. I think it's pretty innovative, and I think they have been the best team to actually utilize Rem. Everybody else is just not looked quite nearly as good as Lowkey W.
Everyone's lost on it except them for the weekend, man. But you said something, and it makes me wonder about Lowkey W's draft. If we're looking at NA, Jake, M1 heroes get prioritized towards like the first, second pick, but Lowkey W, in like my recent memory, are the only team who pick it like 6 consistently because Zergy can flex so many different things, and they prioritize having these brawlers so much more heavily.
I mean, I think part of it comes to the flexibility here. Like, I don't think you'd be mad if you're Lowkey W if you had to go to like a Wraith here or something else. And I don't think that, Abrahams are going to pick more M1s once they grab Venator. So it just makes sense, right? Save your draft priority for the things that you're actually worried you might not get. I'm also interested to see how Abrahams plays this one out. I think they're a little bit low on control from my perspective here, and I think that could be kind of a problem. Maybe late game, there's like a Phantom Strike on Abrams that can kind of, start those fights off really nicely. But as far as like hard lockdown goes, it's Abrams. I mean, Paradox is decent in that regard, but more of an initiator than someone who can really hold people down. And then what? It's like Gutshot, like that, which is okay, but it's more of a defensive tool for Venator. You're up against Silver, GT, Billy. Like, these are very high mobility characters that, Viscous and Rem as well, that are going to try to run away from a lot of these engages. And I think a big test for Abraham is going to be, can you actually catch these players and punish them in those mid-game fights where mobility tends to be crucial?
Do you think, Dan, that maybe this is an overcommitment out of Abrahams to go for urn contest after what we saw over the weekend with Lowkey W just being so successful and putting so much emphasis on it?
It's an interesting question because I think obviously, Shiv and Paradox have pretty insane damage output, and I think they can kind of like help to kind of carry going from that early to mid game in terms of damage output until like Venator kind of comes online later. And I think Celeste is also like very versatile also. So I don't know. I mean, I can see why you're saying that, but I do see the potential for Abrahams to be totally fine outside of Uncontrol as well. And I think that they'll have a pretty solid time tempoing. That's one thing I like from their roster. So, I mean, I got to say, like, these are the two best teams to me in the world at the moment. I think Leviathan are really amazing, but I think there's a bit more inconsistency there. So I love these two different approaches that we're seeing because really it is Abraham's best view of the game versus Lowkey W's best view of the game. I think both teams got the draft as they wanted to, as opposed to their strategy or core getting disrupted. I think that's kind of what we're looking at here.
Okay, well then, Jake, looking at these two comps, who are you kind of favoring right now in this game?
I mean, I got to take Lowkey W, even if it's just recency bias. I think them coming off the back of a win is going to put them in, they're going to be confident, right? They're going to feel like, hey, we got this done in a really high stakes match in a grand finals. No reason we can't just like run it back, play it again. I also like their draft quite a bit more here. I think it gives more flexibility in terms of the way they actually approach a team fight. For me, Abraham's like, they have a lot of damage, and I think they probably do scale better if we get late enough into the game. But for Lowkey W, if you can just kind of like hold the line, build an advantage, and you know, like kind of take over the map, I don't think that those ultra late game scenarios are as realistic as teams get better, right? They just get better and better at finding the chance to close out the game, getting more dominant wins. And also, I think GT Silver, for me as a first two, are like incredibly powerful. These are two heroes that can completely take the game over, and even without like the craziest net worths, right? Where yeah, you expect Zergy to probably be the one carrying the flag there. I think GT and Silver can have way like bigger carry performances than it would seem from that one stat.
You know, I don't know why, but when you were talking about GT just there, I was thinking to myself, when do we get a reverse skin where you play as the owl and then you shoot a GT who flies around and crashes into people?
Wait, that goes hard. That's like,
Ozzy, you're in the chat. Hey,
it's like
come on,
GT
get on it.
GT with his arms out doing like an airplane pose.
And he just goes wee as he's flying instead of a screech from the owl. But then,
This is high concept.
What's your thoughts on the on like who do you favor in this one?
So I think it's really interesting because I'm favoring Lowkey W because of like the recency bias, and I just think that the team has all the momentum. But I like what Abraham's have in terms of the vision, because there's like a lot of spirit damage and things that will reduce your spirit resist. You know, I think like, you know, Shiv and Celeste, for example, like there's so much capacity, you know, with escalating exposures and you know, Shiv slice and dice. There's all these tools to reduce resistances. And so like these bigger team fights, you know, I think the game is going to be very hard for Lowkey W if Abraham's are competitive in terms of like the souls and so on as we go later into the game because of all of the spirit damage. So I'm curious how they'll deal with that.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get underway here. This is not the grand finals of NSO. It is the challenger match in the night shift number 41, brought to you by DDK and Jake. Take it away, Jake.
Thank you so much, Jason. And as we get into this one, we're going to take a look at our newest skin in action. Remember, this is a sub goal, so if we get to 1,500 subs, which we got to be pretty close on. We saw definitely a spate of subs come in right when we showed off the skin, but if we can get that today, we will drop this for the community. Beautiful custom work, modeled by Ozzy. Initial design from Killinger. So incredible stuff. Great to see what's possible in this game. And like we've been saying, man, I don't think anyone can wait for the workshop to come out in this game. It feels like it has to come based on, you know, Dota and CS showing it, but I mean, Deadlock is going to be so sick for modeling.
Oh my god, yeah. There's so many things that you can do. I can't wait. I can't wait to see all of the creativity that can kind of flow into this game. Especially, you know, for me, one of the things I love about Valve and what they've done is that they've really maintained the DNA of the company from the earliest days because the earliest days of game development, everything was pretty much open to people to mod, like, you know, getting an SDK and being able to play around with anything and everything. That's kind of like old school, like game dev, I would say. And Valve has maintained that in an era where, you know, things get kind of locked down. So I love that the community gets to build stuff. So yeah, I'm stoked too. Speaking of which, you know, Jake, being stoked, like to me, I'm kind of looking at this as a continuation of the Night Shift Open Finals in my head.
Absolutely. I mean, that's probably the last time these two teams play it, right? Just so recently, and now getting the chance to take a rematch. Definitely curious to see how this one goes, especially the Rem, right? Where this has been a polarizing character. Like, as we said, no one else has really found success on this character, but for whatever reason, Lowkey W, it's been a real threat for them. And, you know, for your Abrahams, it's like, you almost have to let it through because the fact that no one else is finding success with it, it feels crazy to ban it out, but you really have to be cautious from a macro perspective. And micro perspective, Silver maybe running this one down. Paradox, gotta run for her life.
Yeah, great initial damage and pressure. I mean, this is one of the things Silver is so good at with the burst damage in lane. Just like really chase people down, especially with the boot kick. It's just really, really painful in the slam fire. So, you know, good pressure there in the mid lane. And it's something that's going to be interesting too is that, you know, with the GT buy, I feel like, you know, the birds is really painful in the early game because you don't have counterspell yet, but it kind of like forces you know, teams to itemize a little bit towards counterspell because, you know, if you get like a lot of stacks on the bird, like it is pretty meaningful.
Yeah, and I think that the current meta build we're seeing with GT is like people going for gun first, which I actually think has been a key innovation. Not only this character like getting Rain of Arrows buff to make this build like feel more effective, but you know, in the past, I think you were a relatively weak laner. Like, you were decent at throwing big poke with the arrows, but, you know, like, it's somewhat predictable when you know, commit the arrow. There's a bit of a wind-up. There's a chance for really strong players to, like, read and dodge that. But playing more for the gun build makes your lane, I think, a lot more consistent and gets you into the mid-game where the owl ends up being the key factor. So it's always going to be something we watch whenever GT's in the game, right? Like, those permanent stacks can honestly make or break. Like, you get 50 to 70 spirit power, and then you buy Boundless Spirit. I mean, you can hit numbers that no one else in the game.
Yeah, and it's also like really nice too because in a lot of the builds I've seen where you start the gun, you get the level 2 Rain of Arrows, and then you just send it to like level 3 on your ultimate. And the level 3, I think if the heroes are below 22% health, then it just insta-kills them. And given that we have like a pretty heavy frontline meta right now, like, I mean, just look at Abraham's roster. These are really, really chunky heroes. So if you connect a bird, you know, and they're 22% or under, they're going to insta-die. And that's actually very meaningful, I think, especially in how, you know, we're seeing these health pools. I think Valve has been trying to like decrease the time to kill, but it can still be pretty crazy.
He has buffs spawning now. It's always going to be a key moment to contest. Rem, some really aggressive pathing in this lane. And his teammates are grabbing buffs, so actually, yeah, he's going to get hard though here with 3 knives in him. I think he's just dead. Maybe, oh, wait, actually, he can get inside. And then nice bait. Ballistic is back for the save and a parry onto Arzo. I mean, I think Sonya thought that was a guaranteed kill as well, but of course, into that tag-along, essentially evading the incoming damage. Really well done.
Yeah, that's always a very frustrating way to die. Because it feels like a stupid dive when you die under a tower. I mean, if you get it, it's like, oh, like, it feels great. Like, I made a great play. But if you don't get it, you feel like an absolute idiot because you died under the tower. So, I feel like those are the only 2 feelings you can actually have.
I mean, I think that's actually like it looked from my screen, I'm like, oh man, he's dying. You know, he's like overextended in the lane.
Yeah.
But I think that sort of shows Obakim's experience. Like, he's baiting for sure there, and that they're just ready for Billy to come back in and make the save. And, you know, Shiv just, you know, she got 3 knives connected there. If there's no tag along, that should be a kill on Ram. So I see why the dive comes out, but it's not, it's like a scary lane to fall behind in too, because, you know, Billy and Ram actually have pretty decent pushing power with the little helpers. And I think Billy is like a deceptively good tower pusher in the early game.
Yeah, I agree too. And, you know, we have that health buff that he got too recently. So generally pretty impressive frontliner. I think the Shiv's still running the 3 knives. I think that's like still like the most popular opening.
I mean, the knives are just, it's probably the highest source of single target DPS in the game, in the early game. Like, getting, you know, 4 or 5 knife stacks, like, it almost just full kills a hero when you get that many stacks online now. But it's definitely a sort of a scary build to go for, in the sense that you really don't have farming potential with the build. I mean, like, Shiv, I think, is one of the weakest heroes at killing jungle creeps in the game, other than maybe when the dash is max, you can, you know, feel a lot better. But those early camps, now that they spawn a little bit earlier, I think that ability for heroes to clear camps is also something that's coming at a little bit of a higher premium than it did in the past. Like, with all the medium camps spawning at, what is it, 5 instead of 6 minutes, there's a little bit of an earlier snowball potential. We got a quick pause from together. Let's see what's going on here.
Maybe we can have an opportunity here to see the itemization, because I'm kind of curious how many rebuttals we might see today, because obviously the game's very burger boxy and we got a lot of brawlers in this particular game. So I could see a world where there's quite a few rebuttals picked up. It's a pretty affordable item, but it can, you know, pretty pivotal around the burger box of the earn drop off.
Yeah, it feels almost required in this game too, with Viscous and Billy on the other team. Yeah, I think and I mean, Silver to a lesser extent. You know, I think you're right. We've been seeing heroes that don't normally buy rebuttal being willing to go for it, right? Trying to hold down that earn objective. But it feels like maybe we'll see 6 of them on Abraham's. I mean, I wouldn't be totally shocked by that.
So far, pretty quiet start, I would say. You know, no towers down, the 7-minute mark. I guess that'd be kind of aggressive if we saw one down in between the 5 and 6 minute mark, but pretty easy going so far. I don't know how many kills we've had. It doesn't feel like we've had really more than just 3 or 4.
One, right? Is it just the Shiv who died in the tower? I mean, I think the early game has become, at this level of play, has become like very quiet. I think very stable. We just don't see teams taking a ton of risks in the early game, because, you know, I think the coordination, the communication is so much better that unless you have a hero who's really set up to do some roaming ganks, like I don't know, a Drifter or a Calico who can get from lane to lane super quickly. Just feels like the risk is too significant. You go for that rotation, you don't get anything, you fall pretty significantly behind. And teams are now super aware of those missing calls and stuff. So I wouldn't hate if, at some point we see some slight tweaks to the early game, but it's also maybe just the nature of early game in a MOBA, right? A little bit of a stable laning phase. Not a bad thing considering how much chaos comes in the next 10 minutes of Deadlock.
Yeah, like you said, it's harder and harder to surprise people, and everybody gets kind of, they play so much, you get an intuitive sense.
Let's take out Paradox.
But it's a good dodge.
Sick catch on the Cosmetical, but maybe better movement for Cosmetical. No, he does get run down by Together. Taz showing why he's one of the best on Paradox there. That's a big kill to find. Cosmetical very greedy on the build, gets punished.
Yeah, Paradox is so good at setting up these kills, especially, as you say, when people are playing safe. It's hard to play safe against Paradox.
Seen this before, the hard knockdown rush on Vrake. Pretty wild to have it this early. And also, I'm kind of surprised. Like, I saw this before, but I think it was against something like a GT or a Lash, where, like, okay, knockdown felt like an obviously necessary item. I mean, it's decent versus Celeste.
Okay, well, that's a very dead Sandy sniper. Nice catch. It's going super aggressive on Billy.
5 knives in him, though. Sticking hard. The little helper is absolutely carrying on the defense. Oh, my God. But it looks like Perry's out. Oh, but it comes back just a little bit quicker. Nice find. And Together knew he's deep behind tower. Has to take a big risk there.
Yeah, we can see the new item, Grits, on Hoot as well. It's a really nice item that builds into the reactive barrier or the spirit shielding.
I see Abrams.
Was it like, is it like 200s barrier you get from that, activating that?
I think so, yeah, but it only lasts a very short time. But 200 HP blocked every 60 seconds is actually really sick in laning phase, and especially because it builds into all the shielding items. It's a pretty efficient buy. I think it's a very cool buy in the laning phase, right? It's just something a little more interactive than your typical like restorative shot, right? With a little bit more counterplay to it. So definitely a fan of the item. Glad it came in. And now that I think about it, actually, I was thinking about the Viscous thing. I realized the reason why everyone rushed the knockdown now is, as I say, old Bird connects. Insta kill on the Empty Dreams. Stack +1. It looks like his second stack of the game. So it already found one before. Cosmetical doing great to have +20 before 10 minutes is kind of insane.
I see Abrams.
Nice peek on the tower there. I do love this this knockdown though, especially because of the way you can play Viscous. You'll be able to keep yourself alive with the cubes. You get a lot more spirit power from the spirit investment, so the splatter is going to go pretty hard. It just allows you to support better and set your team up better. I like it a lot. It's very, very cool. They're going to pick up the Guardian on the right side. Big movement from Abrahams in middle, though. They're looking to crunch onto that mid Guardian and potentially pick up some kills.
Pretty hard target here. Hoot trying to hold a defense. He's playing around this reanimation from Victor. Trying to pressure the tower, but there's a lot of resistance here. This one isn't looking to be an easy push. Lowkey W they want to get into the team fight here. Up 5k souls. A couple knives expended from Shiv. He's not going to be in the best fighting shape. Billy maybe thinking about a rundown, but that's a very healthy Venator with a gun buff. Seems to have made his way to safety.
Really nice so far. Lowkey W saving that mid Guardian, looking to ensure the wave priority as they are trying to find kills at the same time. Although Abraham's looking a bit better here at the moment. Able to take down Overkim. Again, this wave priority is really important. We've got the urn coming up in the next minutes. And so you want to have as much lane priority as possible. In the meantime, actually, speaking of which, we've got Arzo, who's actually just slowly pushing the left side. Walker picking up a lot of farm. He's going to get sent back, but able to steal away some enemy jungle at the same time. So nice farming from Arzo, keeping himself on pace.
Yeah, I think both Arzo and Zergi have kind of the dream start for a farming carry here. They have their tier 1 tower advantage and a clean side lane in which to farm. Maybe both teams going to look to evict their opponents. What a swap. It's on to Break, though, who's a very tough kill to finish. He's trying to play his way out of this, holding on to the goo ball, and does so really nicely. Now a boot kick catches Taz, and might be a little overextended here if there's a bit of a rundown on it. Seems like Viscous just goes back to base, plays it safe on this time.
Yeah, and we've got the end coming up right now. Right now, along the left side, we've got priority here for Lowkey W. They're going to be able to pick that one up if they want to be the ones to run it across. They still have to deal with this Guardian, though, so there might be a world where they try to use the numbers here to clear out the Guardian first.
Protect the urn runner.
They're gonna run off with it.
And Billy already has a Dispel Magic. Big dive, though. They're trying to punish Zergy. He's all alone, and this is the side of the map you want to be on to contest the urn. Empty Dreams does find the finish, diving deep past the Walker here. That is a huge one.
Now, the question is, who's going to have a better fight here on this right side urn deposit? You've got Lowkey W carrying it across Realistic on that Billy. And there's no Celestial actually available at the moment, so this could actually go kind of well here for Lowkey W. They got all the ults available for this. They should have advantage. They're going to go for the deposit. And now setting up the fight here. We've got all the circles coming on through. The bird, everything you can imagine getting thrown at the urn. Looking to try to swap that urn there. It's still for Lowkey W. There's a quick swap. Abrahams will flip it. And it's still ticking away. Needs one more hit. And it's so close here for Lowkey W on the flip. And again, Abraham's turning it back into their favor. And looks like they're good to clean it up. Amazing stuff from them.
They just annihilated the team fight. I mean, it was the urn held for a decent amount of time, but Abraham's getting everything out of that one, and that's going to give them an enormous lead in this game. I mean, we went from a 5K advantage for Lowkey W to 10K back the other way. I mean, that is as good as it gets. Now a little bit of space to farm, and neither Zergy nor Arzo came to that fight, which understandable, right? They're both like playing the side lane, getting farmed up, but a 5-for-0 trade for Abraham's way better than you can expect. They didn't even need to use every single ultimate in that one, so definitely some team fighting issues here on the urn. Victor, I think, still the king of those drop-offs.
I love how earlier you were talking about how Shiv is like one of the worst jungle farmers, and we just see like Sanya Sniper trying to like 14 minutes trying to kill them.
Meleeing 20 times, I think, is not a great
Yeah.
sign for your jungle speed, but it works. It works. Gets the job done.
Oh, that looks so painful, honestly. Don't try this at home. Okay, well, I mean, that's the stuff. That fight was really the stuff that we highlighted. That's really worrisome. Is where Abraham certainly have the big composition advantages. So it is interesting, you know, because Lowkey W, it's gonna be tough. Like they can never kind of go directly into those fights. They'll need either a pick or some skirmishes before, like burn out some ults, maybe be more kind of explosive on the enemy backline. They got to get creative in those urn fights. Otherwise, you'd imagine Abrahams will definitely just straight up pull away in the game off of those.
Yeah, a fight like that already now. I mean, you're definitely on the back foot. Looks like double buff control for Abrahams, looking to expand the lead. And they're even looking for more of a fight. Fear buff for Celeste, movement for Victor. A lot of defense already forced out of Lowkey W. Abrahams are kind of moving aggressively on the map here, showing a lot of presence. Lowkey W, I mean, they're a strong team defensively, but they feel a little bit confined to the walkers right now, which is not a good place to be. I mean, there's a lot of jungle to be cleared. And Abraham's wasting no time in playing the economy game.
Yeah, what's the jungle being eaten up? Lowkey W, 3 players in this mid lane at the moment. And you can see Abrahams on the minimap, interested in trying to go for maybe a pick. We've got the Abrams Saint, who is coming in from the side and maybe looking for a charge initiation. Oh, there's the swap, though. And that's the problem. Swap into Abrams charge. It's a classic combo.
Billy doing nicely with the cube to maybe play his way out of that one. Listic gets a nice heal. Could come back into this. But in the end, for Abrahams, they low commitment, right? They go for the swap. They don't quite get the kill. They force the cube out, but they're not overstaying their welcome there. They're not sticking around too long. They know that while they have an advantage, it's a tenuous one, right? It's not enough to force a fight in the enemy side of the map. But that kind of a threat, it does put players on notice that, hey, if you want to farm aggressively, you run the risk of being ganked. And yeah, it's always a good thought to have in the back of your opponent's mind at Deadlock.
How much do you think Celeste is good to kind of play counter to Grey Talon?
It's an interesting question. I mean, Celeste probably it just does have the mobility to get onto the back line. You know, I think in the end, a lot of your damage on Celeste comes from the M1, which shouldn't be that bad. If you can get the Light Eater, as his skills maxed out onto GT. So, I mean, I think a lot has to come from players like Hoot and Obakim to lock down the Celeste, but already, I mean, pretty nice game from Empty Dreams. On fire, 15k souls. Definitely not going to be an easy one. The knockdown probably headed her way most of the time, but it's not clear that that's going to be enough to win the fight on its own. And, I mean, the double support, semi-support, I guess you'd say, with Rem and Viscous, I feel like it feels pretty rough when you fall behind it, right? Like I think when you're ahead, it feels like, hey, your chorus can really push the limit, go crazy, and get saved and avoid giving any counter kills away. But when you're behind, you feel like, hey, kind of missing some more of that fighting power that an option like Abrams is giving to Abrahams now, which we just love that. The team player name combo.
Well, self differential, not too bad. 8K separating these two teams right now as we go into the next urn. And again, this is where Abraham's managed to pull away quite a bit because of their superior fighting composition. All the circles, all the many circles that they have. And so we'll see what happens here. Every single ultimate is up for this fight, which doesn't bode well for Lowkey W. What are they going to be able to do to contest this? They are trying to find these fights kind of before the urn has actually dropped. And they haven't managed to actually get a good catch, though. But they have managed to pick up the urn.
Yeah, it's a nice pickup for them. Maybe just going to clear a wave with this bird, defend the mid-walker. No one else is here to do it. So the GT bird providing some macro value there. It's nice for Lowkey W to grab the urn control, but can you really force a fight? I mean, you're up against every single ult available for Abrahams right now. Especially the Victor, of course. Reanimation going to be arguably the most crucial tool there. Looks like a team fight in mid maybe is going to be the look. They have a chain onto Abrams, but this is a hard target.
Yeah, looking to go for the dive here, and Abrahams, they just can reset this position. Maybe they'll be okay, but looks like too much damage being done too quickly here as the chase continues. The takedown onto Saint is a huge win, given that the urn has yet to be couriered across into its deposit spot. So they can just do a little bit more work here in this fight. They'll be in good stead maybe for that urn, but the focus on to the Wolf is a problem.
Cube is going to be big. The rescue beam gets him up to high ground, but not out of the woods just yet. Big chase down coming in. Abraham's continuing to run across the map here. Full retreat here for Lowkey W. I mean, without Hoot ready to fight, I don't know that you can continue this engagement. The bird, hold on, does get a nice connection on Empty Dreams. Are they going to be able to find the finish there? Oh, also unfortunate Celeste bounces, but they do get the finish. Looks like it could have been a stack for GT there. Animation force. Lowkey W actually doing nicely in this one, but Abraham's still strong as 5.
Still pressing the advantage in that mid lane. They've managed to pick up the urn once again. Nice shot there from the GT Cosmetical. And we got pressure. This is a big problem. Also, we're starting to really hammer onto that Walker. Wants to get out of there in case some attention's been attracted. The creeps might actually finish it off. It's getting quite low here as the urn is getting taken across the map again. But you can see Lowkey W, they don't want the urn fight. They want to pick you off on the way to the urn fight. And the mid-boss, no way.
I mean, no reanimation. Together is really going to struggle to take a fight without that skill. Lowkey W saying this is the moment to gamble it all. Could very well be the game of the line. Hoot's already down through the Lycan form. Now an attempt for the last hits. Big out connection comes in. 1-to-1, still one Riju Crystal left to be claimed. No one can find it, but Lowkey W do grab the second, and without the reanimation together, struggling to really get into this fight. Zergy, though, also low. But Cosmetical, despite not having much HP to work with, grabs a quick heal from the Viscous and refuses to back down from this fight. The trap coming in, seeming inevitable now. Shiv caught, dead to rights. No arrows for the follow-up, but the damage is too consistent from Zergy. And still with one region remaining, Lowkey W, massive comeback fight in the pit to even the field.
Honestly, unbelievable stuff, because Abrahams, you know that if they can just play these objective fights cleanly into the fight, they're going to be in a good spot. But Lowkey W, I mean, initially, I got to say, I feel like Obi-Kim did such a good job on the heals. We had that chase down onto Hoot, from the enemy side, enemy jungle, all the way back to Lowkey W's mid. And Hoot was kept alive for so long. And so, I really feel like the tag-alongs have been pretty massive to allow that fight to kind of go as it did, because Abrahams had to spend a lot more, had to go a bit deeper, take more damage. And these sprawling fights don't seem to be doing near as well for Abrahams. And that kind of makes sense, because they don't want the sprawling fights. Lowkey W definitely with better opportunities in those engagements.
Yeah, and I think I really love that Lowkey W take that fight at all, because honestly, most teams, I don't think they would. By the way, Urn being thrown in here. Abraham still without an ultimate. Oh, fairly beautiful connection on the Urn. It is snatched right back, and Celeste may find herself between a rock and a hard place. Takes some big hits on the way in, but Lowkey W's health isn't amazing. Abraham wants to fight this, wants to get a quick fight win back the other way. Now parry in. Oh, Together is going to die here, but does have the reanimation. Almost happy to get the stun down here on this key objective.
I see the enemy.
Blue ball comes forward, maybe going to provide an opportunity to flip things back the other way, and with Listic and Hoot falling, things are going down to the wire. Zergy needs to find a lot of kills in this fight. He and Cosmetical have to bear the standard. Abraham's low across the board. Both teams now in a real war of attrition for this one.
Vrake's able to swap it once again, but they just don't have enough forces, I don't think, between Cosmetical and Vrake. It's looking like Abraham's will indeed turn it in. Again, these are the battles where they have the most strength. And that pickup, I mean, Lowkey W, I think, was slightly ahead before that fight started, after the whole rejuve, the whole mid-boss situation. But after that now, if we take stock, 121k for Abraham's, looking to increase probably quite significantly. They're going to get a Walker as well, so they're going in advance probably of a 20k advantage after that urn battle.
Double Walker is huge to find here. It looks like they won't be able to get the mid. Hoot would love to do a chase, but with 2 players on the respawn, it would just be too desperate. Reanimation just doing a little bit too much in that fight. Unfortunately, Lowkey W, I mean, they have some decent team fight tools, but Hoot and Listic weren't able to stand tall, right? Like, those are the first deaths. They are doing their job as frontliners to get in the mix and take the fight, but there's just too much gas on the side of Abraham's for those frontline to hold up, right? And I think that's kind of the linchpin of these fights around the urn. If you can't control that space, you can't control the objective itself. A couple cheeky grabs from the Viscous to slow things down, but just delays the inevitable. If Abraham's control that area, they will win the fight in the end. And for Lowkey W, the fact that it also comes on the back of a losing team fight with a lot of cleanup kills and walkers to take, once again puts Abraham's in the driver's seat here in this game.
Such a nasty position to find yourself in, and what's the way that Lowkey W can really come back here? Because if they were having trouble with the objective fights when it was even, or even if they were slightly ahead, I mean, it feels like it's going to be even less hope on those objective fights if they're behind in souls. Like, is there a point at which the game gets late enough where that's not the case?
I mean, I think the real problem is this Victor ulti, right? Like, it's just putting this immovable object between Lowkey W and the fight that they want to take. I mean, they're arguably one of their best fights yet of the game was forcing that mid boss, right? When the Victor ult was down, and I think that's probably the road to recovery here. But in order to have the Victor ult down and for the fight to not be over, right? You're already asking a lot, right? How do Lowkey W get a good enough engagement for that to be the case? That's the step you need to take, but it's not easy or obvious to me how they can get it done, especially with the Walker this low on mid. It's not even clear to me that you're supposed to take a fight here. Like, this Walker is going to go down in seconds if Abrams want to commit to a push. Billy being caught and grabbed. Scourge on Abrams, just absolutely devastating them. A 3-man sleep from Obakim does slow things down. The knockdown cancels the Abrams ult. So Lowkey W could be looking to get into this fight. A big owl connects onto 4, but a swamp in condemns Hoot to an early grave, and Abrams holds strong here around the enemy large camp.
Yeah, they're going to get out of there. They're going to concede the urn as well. Big problems here for Lowkey W. Down 3 walkers. They've lost the urn as well. And I don't know what they have to protect against this. There's still that Victor ultimate available for an urn fight if Lowkey W were to force it. So what really is their option in this position?
Big grab now onto Obakim. Finds himself in trouble. Needs a tag-along jump. He's going to be okay. Slips away, but maybe the dive continues. Even Cosmetical could potentially find himself as a target. Out of stamina here. But Lowkey W draw their line in the stand, marking a hold. The Billy Chain good enough to drop Together's ultimate. This could be an opportunity, one that I don't think Lowkey W can afford to let slip away. Victor seems to be the target. GT going to pop the bird in a contested location. Does grab the finish in a stack. Will there be more kills on the cards? This could be a chance for Lowkey W, but also a risky one to chase.
Take out Abrams.
Yeah, like you said, they do have to pick that moment to go, the line in the sand, and this is not looking too bad here. Saint very, very weak on the Abrams, and the comeback urn has been collected. If Lowkey W were able to make this work, there is a real chance back into this game. Now they're going to have to, they need the entire team to be able to turn up there. There's no chain gang available, so that's unfortunate. The Rem nap time is going to be available soon. That's another really big ultimate for these objective fights here. So
I don't think Abrahams can contest. I mean, the comeback urn just dunks so quickly. I think without the reanimation and Victor not even being alive, I just don't think you can fight it. They're going to go for macro instead, try and eat up a bit of the jungle to mitigate their disadvantage. But as you said, huge win for Lowkey W, right? That kind of puts them right back into the fight. They've done a really nice job in this game of like picking these moments to commit, and despite the net worth advantage being against them, they make good fights happen. I think that's something that you look at a lot of people playing in pubs. They think, oh, like we're down 10, 20k souls. We're weaker. We can never fight. Lowkey W showing that's not exactly the case, right? If you pick your moments well, you can absolutely find these comebacks.
100% agree. You got to pick the right moment, and Lowkey W have put themselves in a position where, you know, mid boss is coming up, so they just need to do that one more time, and then they'll be able to capitalize on the mid boss and totally swing the game, and then we'll be looking at something that is very, very different. And mid initiation, they are, you know, this is them picking a fight once again here, Jake.
They were trying to go onto together before the ult comes up, but he slips away. Now Abrams becomes the target, but has the ultimate to fly back. Looks like Billy Chain catches two. Gonna be able to pull them in. The owl, maybe for a follow-up stun, and they do get the finish on Arzo. He's dead for 75. The most farm player on Abrahams now. Shut down, and Lowkey W evening up the net worth. Sergi officially into this fight. A big sleep connects onto together. He does pop the reanimation. Abrahams may still continue to fight this, but Lowkey W have already had a big win in that one.
And you can see Sergi, he's got the Colossus. That's an item that he picks up ahead of Vampiric Burst, I've noticed, when there's a Rem in his composition. Because he can get the heals from the Rem. And mid-boss, it's just, you know, the kill on Arzo, not enough for Lowkey W to want to go for it. But
I think they are going to go. I think they're just healing. I think they're going to heal up and then send it, because there's no reanimation. Almost as important, I think, as not having Arzo on the field. You can see Abrams are kind of desperate to keep the mid-wave pushed out, but how long will that last? You know, good big buys coming up from Lowkey W. The resources are reset. And I'm not sure if Abraham, I think the game almost has to fight this, but it's a scary one, right? Lowkey W with a real chance here.
Yeah, all their lanes, they have to fix all their lanes. It's just such a rough spot to be in, but they've finally done that. They're going to re-engage back into mid. Again, this is such an important fight here for Lowkey W, up against the full force of Abrahams. Now, Victor is offline, so, you know, you mentioned how important that is. So it's good to reassert that point. And you can see that Abrahams, you know, they aren't necessarily too eager to take a fight here. They know that, you know, if they put a foot wrong, that they could really give this game away. And it's kind of harder for Lowkey W to find those engagements. So if Abrahams is good at not giving them away to Lowkey W, then that's going to be a good way to play this. But one way to force an engagement is this.
They almost have to together. Still a ways away from that ultimate. Could come down to a difference of seconds. That recent nerf to Victor may be crucial here. The rejuve's dropping. Still no players from Abrahams in the pit. Last second move, but a big Billy Chain onto 4. First rejuve now claimed for Lowkey W. The sleep comes in. 2 go back the way of Abrahams. Hold on. And with rejuves now on the field, turns into a death match. Already the brawl looks decent for Lowkey W, but they need to finish some of these kills together. Desperately trying to run away. Desperately trying to get the ult. Just barely comes off cooldown now together. Right back into the fight. And Lowkey W could be in trouble against this reanimation.
Who's looking to reset the Lycan Curse? That is huge. Get the heal, reset the timer, and you're still in absolute danger. Like looking to push into the fight, being that insane space creating frontline, slicing away here. Good heal comes in as well. And this is very difficult right now for Abrahams to stay up here against the Wolf. And okay, Lycan Curse is out, but the damage has been done here. Abrahams have been routed out of this position as Lowkey W are looking really strong. There goes the anvil straight on top of the head of Sanya Sniper, who's doing serious work here on ship.
He's still fighting. He's not out of this one yet, and it looks to be Lowkey W look to back out and take the reset. I think overall a positive trade for him, but an absolute bloodbath around the mid boss. Both teams maybe now looking to just lick their wounds, reset their opportunities. The owl stun is good onto Shiv. There may be a follow-up chase here. Still, it's quite a hard target. Shiv, notoriously difficult to bring down. And with a huge wave crashing here on the Abrahams base, Together has to back out, pick up all this farm. I think he's going to be close to the refresher buy, which, given how significant his ultimate has been in these engagements, I think is potentially a really big moment for Abrahams in this game.
Yeah, and this is another huge moment. Again, shocking reanimations down. Lowkey W running the urn as quickly as possible here, straight to the deposit spot. And, you know, if Saint right now isn't alive for another 15 seconds, so there's a real opportunity here for Lowkey W to maybe make something work out of this. It could be pretty tight, though, because, you know, if there is delay, Empty Dreams, all Empty Dreams has to do is delay this. We're going to push out the wave. You've got the teleport across from Sanya Sniper. This urn moment, the timing window is thin, but it is possible here for Lowkey W to get some value.
I mean, the reanimation's going to be up, so if you take this fight, it is, you know, a full-on 6-on-6. Soul's dead even here. Spirit buff, though, on GT could be a difference maker. I mean, it doesn't completely change the game, but certainly creates more opportunities. But I think, given the history of the urn fights in this game, I think Lowkey W are maybe wise to not want to force it. And Refresher is now up for Together. So 3 lives in these fights. Obviously, Refresher on a very long CD, but this first fight, when you pick it up, it almost feels like you can't get through that many lives on the Victor. Maybe Zergy going to be the one tasked with getting through that, but a lot of bullet resistance, a metal skin even online for Together. This Victor is a problematic hard target. And now it's Sonya's turn to hold the urn, and I think Abraham's, they probably do want to force it, right? For just the same reasons that Lowkey W want to avoid.
Yeah, this time, you know, we do have the Vampiric Burst now onto Zergy, so he's definitely going to be looking to sustain a bit better in these fights. But yeah, it's going to be very tough here. I mean, we've seen that Lowkey W want to try to get these picks before they get across to actually depositing the urn, if you can get them en route. And here we go, there's that ambush en
nice
route,
grab.
trying to lock down the Victor. Almost in trouble.
The damage is crazy onto him. And they do pop the first ulti. Really nice find. Low commitment play from Lowkey W. Great connection from Listic. Still more attempts being found. Refresher. It is popped here, so Victor with one more life onto this one. But already it's gone pretty decently here for Lowkey W, and they're not scared to even take the fight into the room. Saint goes down. The Abrams has felt like a wall this entire game, and now he just crumbles at a crucial moment. More kills coming in, and it looks like Hoot. Zergy just continuing to chase down every single kill. Hoot gives his life for the cause, but it feels more than worth it here.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible stuff here from Lowkey W. They are really forcing their will onto the game now at this point, looking way more confident, way stronger. And we talked about, you know, what is the point of scaling in which, you know, they become a true threat. And right now it feels like they've taken over. Now it feels like there's more problems for Abrahams to find maybe the ideal engagements here.
Definitely, and base guardians on the menu, likely a shrine to fall. You got about 30 seconds with only 2 enemy players on the map. Maybe Victor can get something done, but it's like, do you really want to use the reanimation at this moment with only a Paradox ally alive? Lowkey W are going to choose discretion this time, though, not going for the double shrine. Of course, the first one giving the lion's share of the value, also activating those super creeps in the mid lane. And to be fair, there are 2 walkers to push. I don't know that they have time for an actual walker siege given the wave state.
Yeah, crazy situation, really. I mean, what a fight from Lowkey W, and they've got the map to play with right now with all the prio that they have on these waves, you know, healing up all the farm. Really try to extend that advantage, you know, buy up some items. Looking to be in a very, very good position right now.
For Viscous. Spirit Burn. Oh, interesting. Okay. I was thinking Trans CD, but Spirit Burn could be pretty sick, right? In terms of having some big outgoing spirit damage. I mean, the rest of the team, I think, is a little bit gun heavy, but actually, if you look at it, Lowkey W have a really clean balance. An Echo Shard plus Scourge online for Rem, Decay as well. I mean, I think that's part of why that front line looks so dominant. You get items like Scourge and Echo Shard. Now, Obicam has a vastly greater ability to sustain somebody like Hoot or Zergy when they're running over together. And I mean, right now, even though, you know, Victor's pretty gun heavy, it feels like when you're able to run through the Victor as a frontliner, I didn't expect that, and it really feels like it changes everything in this game. Now, Abrahams have to play a lot more cautiously, and that does not feel good for them.
Yeah, I think the Spirit Burn is also really nice for the anti-heal, especially on like the Victor and the Abrams. So I think that's like another really nice feature here, because I don't see much other anti-heal for Lowkey W, at least from itemization. And yeah, this suddenly feels like Abrahams. It's not like they're scared or something, but like they have to be so much more cautious than ever before in this game. Now the mid boss is spawned, so if Lowkey W are to continue in kind from the last 5 to 10 minutes, then this mid boss, you know, the next fight into the next mid boss, that could be a game deciding inflection point potentially. But we'll see if Abrahams can kind of be cunning with this next fight that they choose to engage into.
Wait, personal request for the observing team. Can we get a check on Zergy's cam? He has a vitality buff and a Colossus. What is the raw HP number? I'm gonna guess 6,500.
I see Victor.
Oh my, the
Whoa.
goat. Goat.
Oh my god, Jay. Okay, respect.
This is crazy. Bro has 6,500 HP. He's W and keying them. Full alpha status. Billy's in the front trying to bait and engage him. Maybe Listic's gone too far. 5-man burn connection cosmetical. Cube onto Listic to sustain it back up. Here comes the Warden ult from over the top. Gonna try and dive in. Thinks better of it though. Doesn't want to overextend it. Just still playing the fight a little bit cautiously. Looking for any pickoffs they can find, but the pickoffs, here they come. Together is down. Maybe ours will soon to fall. Slept by Obicam. The roll comes in. A pin under the base, but yeah, I don't know if Zergy even needs the back out. He's gonna play it safe for now and look to just clean up base guards. By the way, the Walker is still alive here. They are so deep past where you would typically expect them to play. And Hoot actually has to run for the hills. Almost goes down.
Yeah, like he's disengaged a little bit, but yeah, I mean, there is at least something happening there. But ultimately, Abraham's down 2 players. I mean, Sanya has been scary, but right now Abraham's, or rather, sorry, Lowkey W, looking so dominant. They can begin to force this mid boss as well. And Abraham's, I mean, what enough do they do here? I mean, do they try to steal some rejuve buffs? It kind of feels like they have to.
It's brutal. I mean, like, you could try, but it's also the possibility if you lose 4 deaths here, as is very likely to happen if you come for the contest, it could be the game. But maybe giving the rejuve also
Take out Abrams.
not something you can recover. Here comes Saint. He's into the pit, but a big burn stun comes in. Does get some nice parries. Hold on, Saint holding his own. The rest of the team now diving in on the rejuve crystals. All 3 of them remain to be claimed. The first one somehow goes into the hand of Abrams, instantly consumed by Taz. But with one rejuve going back the other way, Lowkey W with massively greater strength in this fight. They'll be taking a hefty price for this one. But honestly, I think a really well-played contest from Saint. Like, you got to give him huge credit. Very few players could have come out of that fight with anything other than an instant loss. And I think they basically mitigate the lion's share of the rejuves from pushing their base.
Yeah, like stealing 2 there, it's pretty incredible, but it does feel like right now Lowkey W have started to really scale like out of control. Like the fact that Zergy's 48k, you know, Arzo slowed down. They had that race that we highlighted from time to time between, you know, the 2 M1s, but Warden has an M1 at this stage of the game, is a different beast, and now he's so far ahead of Arzo as well. He is ridiculously hard to stop, and so Lowkey W in such a strong position. You can see the net worth there. We should might as well get a look at the damage done as well. Be really curious to see, you know, who's been doing the most here for their respective teams. And yeah, you can see Cosmetical right at the top there with that Talon, pretty expected, and Zergy as well. And you have to imagine a lot of that damage from Zergy has probably come towards the back or the front end of this.
Yeah, right. Like, now that he's gotten this farm, Frenzy is a crazy buy on Warden at this point, because remember, when Frenzy procs on Warden, you have 3,000 health. Like, that is crazy to get the movement speed, the debuff resist. You are such a hard target when you have that much HP after the Frenzy procs that you're still fighting. I think it's going to bode really well in a game where there's a lot of uncontrolled damage going back his way, where you know, he is going to get low if he's tangling with players like Together in the front line, or Empty Dreams, Sonya. A lot of damage coming back at him, but that kind of HP total, it starts to feel scary. I'm really impressed, though, by Vrake and Obakim doing really impressive damage this game. I mean, Viscus on the back of the splatter alone is able to be a genuine threat into this death ball. And for Obakim, I don't know how he has that much damage, honestly. I guess it's just like Scourge and Decay, but that's kind of insane. Like, Rem, typically not a character we expect to be, you know, very competitive at all in the damage totals. But this game, I mean, this is a crazy build. Look how much he has insane spirit scaling right now. So the Scourge, the Decay, they are all hitting like a truck.
Yeah, I just saw the Alk Fire too. I didn't realize you picked up that as well, which makes sense, you know, with all of the objective fights, and it's a very strong item to have with all the gun on your team too. So yeah, it's really interesting. Vrake's build in particular on the Viscous is really cool. It's like the minimum 4.8k Vitality invest, but then it's just like so much util.
This ladder just comes in and takes away a third of Taz's health. That is too funny. That's the anti-Viscous experience, man.
It's so fun when you're a Viscous and you're like bouncing them around and like you get those cheeky connections.
The only downside is he has all active, so he can't buy Echo Shard. Proc that Spirit Bomb more reliably. But I mean, Transcendent cooldown also pretty fantastic. Spirit Buff even grabbed. This one hits the camp. Chill, no problem with there. Accidentally does another camp. Maybe that was on purpose.
Yeah, it might have been on purpose actually, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of clean. I gotta take that. It's a nice little farming pattern.
I never thought about that actually. Splatter Viscous lineups for farming actually makes a lot of sense.
I've definitely farmed like intentionally multi-bounce camps before, but doing 2 camps at once, that is compy. That is very compy.
Look at the dominance right now Lowkey W have on the map. Obviously that 40k advantage overall. Really starting to show itself, and just rolling as a death ball at the moment. The only way back in this one for Abrahams is to get a pick, and that's not possible. And you can see that, yeah, you can see on the soul difference, like this is really the main job, that main objective like EW have had, you know, with this last rejuve. Okay, we've got 1 rejuve. Let's just expand the lead as much as physically possible until everything is a stat check, and the rest of the game is like super easy for us. It's like, it's the best of one. They're playing it safe.
I think it's absolutely a good call. I like the Obakim goes cheat death here on the Rem, recognizing that he has so much saving power. The enemy team is almost obliged to try to kill him first, but with cheat death, I honestly just don't even think it's possible. like maybe if you have a curse to take off the cheat death, but like you're asking so much, you know, to find him alone, out of position, and be able to follow up for more. And you have a gun buff on Zergy at this moment too, where, I mean, this is one of the most farmed I think we've ever seen a player get in DLNS. He's almost at 60K. And the game is not, you know, imminently going to be over, so we could see some crazy. He has a Scourge. I don't think I've ever seen that bot on a ward in action.
Pretty insane.
Mid-boss has arrived.
Mid-boss is up. Abrahams has everything. I mean, this is their best chance, but with a 40K lead, looks like Lowkey W just want to force a fight. I mean, the way Zergy's pathing right now, incredibly aggressive. They're looking to catch off anybody who's just a little bit too far away from the base. Abrahams has to do two very difficult things at once. Stay alive while showing enough presence on the map to be able to get to the mid-boss in time. They do the first part really nicely, but will they be able to get back if Lowkey W go for a force? There's a real dance to be had here. With an urn up, oh, this would be a nice one for Billy to be able to grab and run away with. That is an 11,000 soul urn. The stick is going to grab it, and you know, this could be a decisive fight. The urn has been great for Abrahams, but will it be good enough? Alongside, of course, that comeback buff, which you absolutely have to fight.
Ooh, Shingan connects to 3 players. He's going to pull in a couple, especially the Celeste. That's a very nice target to find there. Metal Skin is unleashed to try to stay up, but Zergy's on the case as well, so I don't believe June's going to stay up for too much longer, as the dominance here from Lowkey W is just so apparent in this fight. Look at Zergy just tanking in that front line.
He's taking over the world right now. I mean, he is showing no fear, and in this case, I think the odds are pretty with him. Starting to overwhelm. Billy holding him down. Now Hoot gets into the mix, tries to get into the back. Big pin from Sane provides some good opportunity, but the damage just starting to run low. Overkim, Cheat Death is now procced, but the Rem still able to heal up. Value of that Echo Shard really being apparent. Zergy gets a cube, but they've done enough damage. 2 key kills onto Taz and Empty Dreams. Mid-boss contest feels impossible as Lowkey W fall back to claim the objective and more than likely the game here.
They're in mid.
Yeah, nothing to contest it with. No ultimates available. Nothing really. So
They're in mid.
should be light work here for Lowkey W. Insta-deleting it. I wonder how many stacks Cosmetical has. He's been doing a really sick job.
Question. I mean, I feel like he's been initiating with the bird, which is pretty interesting. He's not greeting for the stacks. He just wants the big stun connection to start the fight. Now a catch here onto the Shiv, and does get a parry on the Billy, but there's just too many forces aligned against him. I mean, there's multiple Venn diagrams of Scourge just surrounding him. Abraham stills a couple players left. Sleep comes in. Overkim. Sleep doesn't connect on that one. Abraham's over the top with an ulti, but looks like he hits the ceiling with that one. Can't quite get in for the contest. And all 3 rejuves claimed for Lowkey W, as well as a few final kills for Zergy. Lowkey W so patient in this one with the siege, never rushing it, never over-aggressing. They do have some creeps crashing on their shrine, which is something that they really need to deal with. But with this kind of advantage, with 3 rejuves in the pocket, it kind of feels like they're playing with house cast. Don't lose your shrine though, guys. Come on now.
Yeah, this is like very impressive. I think this game from Lowkey W. I think again they're really showing us a lot. Like I think with how they play Rem, like the Viscous as well, like the 2, and also the Warden, like Viscous, Rem, and Warden. Like what other teams are prioritizing these heroes in the way that Lowkey W have been?
Yeah, they go their own way. I don't think they're worried about what other teams are doing. They're trying to be innovators. They're trying to lead the way. Abraham's still going to look for a final fight here, though. Not giving up until the Fat Lady sings. Commendable into this one, but Lowkey W with almost the full bank of ultimates. The Warden, I don't think you're too reliant on it, given this level of farm from Zergy. Spawners now coming in. You don't want to go for the fight in the pit necessarily. A chain gang onto 3, onto 4 now. Maybe get a pull players in, set up for an opportunity. Who gets aggressive, but diving the base. Maybe doing too much, but Abrahams, they just don't have the gas left in the tank here. Lowkey W running through him, a 7 streak for Zergy, and maybe more to be found. Together off the reanimation, but Billy's just getting this job done. You got to get into the pit for the defense, and they cannot manage it. Lowkey W with a repeat of their victory over Abrahams in the finals of the NSO, now going on to the money match. But Dan, was there ever any doubt? I mean, this is the team that looks on top of the world today.
There was some doubt actually. There were some moments where they were struggling to get into the game, and you know, we honestly, Lowkey W just proved in this game why they're the best right now.
I will tell you, I had some doubt in there. I'm not gonna lie, with the way some of these rejuves are going very early on, with the way that we saw the urn turned around in favor of Abrahams. But I will say this, and I will die on this hill. If that was any other team that Abrahams was playing against, they would have won that game 1000%. But somehow Lowkey W, they prove we don't necessarily need to go for a composition that can contest urns and take urns. They play their own style here, Jake, and they still make it work for them. obviously a lot of the heavy lifting going towards Hoot and Zergy in particular, but my God, I did not expect Lowkey W to win this game with how things are starting off.
Yeah, I think that the team fighting from Lowkey W is best in class right now. Like, no one else in the game is that good at finding the right moments to pick a comeback fight, right? Where they're playing very defensively, cautiously when the lead's against them, obviously as makes a ton of sense in the game. But when they find the opportunity to get really aggressive and to kind of turn the tables, they've chosen those spots incredibly well, which is a really hard thing to do in Deadlock, given how complicated the game is. I'll also give a lot of credit to Abrahams. They did not make it easy, right? They were really forcing some heavy fights, putting some real tests to Lowkey W, but it feels like the synergy, the strategy from this team is so good, and the Zergy Warden once again delivers.
I mean, I think you saw, Dan, how much respect Lowkey W had for Abrahams as well, considering they would be sitting at, a decent 40K lead and still would be too, I'm not necessarily afraid. I think they would understand that they still didn't necessarily have the advantage in some of these situations, especially with the way Saint was able to come in towards these rejuves and able to steal away too in some of these skirmishes with just like 2 or 3 people here on the contest. I think Lowkey W gave the respect. They knew where they were strong and knew where they were weak in particular. And I think when it comes to the methodicalness, if that's even a word, of how to approach a game of Deadlock and how to approach a composition that is stronger in certain situations that you're not, they're also best in class.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I was thinking that too during the game. I'm like, wow, Abrahams, or the Lowkey W, really giving Abrahams respect. When they were ahead, like they were like, okay, we need to get more ahead, and we need to make sure that when we are taking fights, even though we are ahead, that we take that 1 kill, that 2 kill, and then we bank it, and then we convert on that. We don't try to get that little bit extra. So much respect for their opponent, and it really pays off. I love what Lowkey W are doing in this game right now. I don't know that anybody else could actually really copy their approach as well.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that, Jake. I think they, by far, the best. I mean, I wouldn't say by far, but they definitely have shown they are by far the best team in the world here. As we take a look at some of the stats coming on through in Zergy, I mean, should your M1 hero have 6.5k life? Should that be allowed?
Look, I won't tolerate the Warden erasure. Other teams can ban it if they want to, but it's only been Zergy, right, who's making this hero work and is getting to the point in the game where it does feel oppressive and overwhelming, like not going down, not losing the tempo earlier on in the game. So I give a lot of credit to Zergy. I love the innovative buy this game. I truly don't think I've ever seen Scourge brought on Warden, but it makes total sense this game, right? You're up against a bunch of heroes that want to jump on top of you and overwhelm you, and Scourge works directly counter to that. So I think, credit to Zergy on the innovation and creativity with this buy. I think it's maybe not the reason they win the game, but certainly a contributing factor, and his experience on Warden really showing with this insane 9-2 and 17 stat line.
Let me pick your brain, by the way, Dan, with something in terms of items, because I think we are seeing something that kind of makes me think, is there a world we need to see Victor kind of nerfed? Because we're seeing, was this double decay, double Scourge, and it feels like most of that was oriented on that one player in particular.
You mean playing against it?
Yeah, like playing against a Victor. I mean, you can see that they itemized in a way to try to counter him, right? Obviously, like they try to burst him down. That's what threw decays and Scourge his way, where he would have to sit inside of that. Spirit burns as well. It seems like Lowkey W had to itemize specifically just to deal with together on Victor. Yeah,
and it could also be also a lot to do with Abrahams in general having like this very, very tanky roster where, because Abrams as well, he's also got that AoE. He's trying to play really, really close up against you, and you've got Sanya Sniper that's going to be pretty tanky, hard to kill, that's on the Shiv, like kind of in the mix there as well, like very broadly style. And I think if you're playing against Abrahams, they're definitely the best team in the world playing these heavy frontline rosters. I feel like they've been the team that's had the most identity behind like more frontline than anyone else playing Deadlock professionally. So I feel like it also makes sense just as a way to play against Abrahams.
Jake, there was a certain stat in there that chat picked up on that when I was looking over. 93,000 healing out of Obi Kim on the Rem. What's your thoughts about that?
I mean, truly incredible stuff, and I think they really understand how to get the most out of these characters that other players, maybe other teams, aren't actually willing to pick. Like, you see like through constantly through the game, right? Hoot and Listic were fearless, super aggressive, right? Willing to take a lot of damage to get their job done, trusting that, hey, the cubes are going to come in, we're going to have the rescue when we need it, we're going to have those big heals and enabling items out of Rem, and you can see why they have that trust. They're fighting together so nicely and able to hit these synergistic plays, and maybe that's part of it, is that, hey, this is more than just what one player can do and one player's individual prowess on a hero. It's a collective understanding that puts all the pieces together. And I think, I mean, a stat line like that, the 93,000 heals, he's not even going like a really optimized build for healing, you know, in the sense like no healing Nova, really just the heal booster and an Echo Shard invested into the tag along. But that's enough to put through massive healing, sustain players on the map, and keep them active and fighting. And feels like that on top of the Warden, right, is like pretty insane given the scaling up percent HP.
All right, well, it's time to take a look here at our MVP, and it has to be none other than the man who changed the world, and more importantly, this match. It's got to be Zergy here coming through, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, so what's really interesting to me about this as well is that Zergy has like a very hard job to maintain the level of farm to get to the point that we see here, because they were behind in the game on the objective fights. You know, Abraham's essentially had the dominance of the whole map, more or less, whenever they wanted it, for you know, until things like flipped like later, like around this point. And so Zergy had to maintain his farm during all of that, stay competitive with Arzo, and you know, he managed to do that very effectively. And if you think about what the comp is, you know, Oberkim, super squishy, Cosmetical, super squishy, you know, Vrake is viscous, so it's hard to kill because of the abilities, but ultimately pretty squishy and was building very, very minimally in any way that would give him health. So if you're talking about like, you know, targets, there's not much health pool on this team until you get to the late game. And so Zergy, the fact that he was able to stay competitive through the hardest part of the game as he did is really impressive. And I think, again, it speaks to why, you know, Zergy is one of the only person that we've seen actually making this work, because it's not as easy as it looks.
And Zergy was the health pool, as we saw there towards the end. But Jake, I did want to give like a special like sub MVP, like a secondary MVP to potentially who, because I feel like he did a lot of work like he always does when it comes to silver.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best silvers in the game right now. I mean, across the board between like him and Cosmetical. I love the way Cosmetical too was playing those fights at the late game, where instead of greeting for more stacks on Owl, which, come on, everybody who plays GT is like, that's all you're thinking about. I know, it's like how could you not? But they're really looking to just hit a huge AoE Owl stun, proc a ton of barriers, proc a ton of items out of the gate, and just start the fight off with that big burst of damage. And then GT is just playing the fight as normal, like just contributing damage off the basic skills, which I actually think is really intelligent in this one. Like, don't greed for stacks in the late game. Just get the value out of the ultimate, put some pressure on the enemy team, and try to capitalize from there. I thought that was a really intelligent way to play the character that I don't know if I've seen so much of before. So I think across the board, you know, you'd be hard pressed to find a player on this team who isn't delivering a big performance, but that's just what it takes to be the best team in the world right now.
Okay, well, let's take a look at our brackets so you guys get an idea of what's coming up next and coming your way, because it will be our money match. And it's our defending champion Leviathan going up against Lowkey W in a rematch from last week. And of course, we do have the North American matches to kick off after that, which will be Work in Progress up against Bird with Clock. And winner, of course, will go up against Melee Creeps in our finals. But that's going to round out our challenger match here over in EU. We're going to head to a short break. But when we come back, we're going to see if Lowkey W can take their title back, or if Leviathan can make up for NSO and defend their title here in the night shift.